The moment I saw the data, I froze. The numbers didn't just break the model, they violated the laws of celestial mechanics. Something was moving toward our sun from interstellar space, and it wasn't obeying gravity the way any natural object should. I spent my entire career studying the cosmos, mapping its elegant, predictable rhythms, but this was chaos disguised as precision. We called it 3I Atlas, the third confirmed interstellar visitor in recorded history. But almost immediately, it began behaving like nothing we'd ever seen before. Its speed was too high, its trajectory too clean, and its luminous output, the light reflecting off its surface, flickered in rhythmic pulses. Not random, not chaotic, but patterned. NASA publicly labeled it a comet. That's the standard playbook. When we don't understand something, we give it a familiar name to calm the public. Just another icy traveler, they said. But comets don't accelerate against the solar wind. They don't emit a directional beam of light perfectly aligned with their path through space. And they certainly don't survive long enough to glide past temperatures that would turn tungsten into vapor. Yet 3I Atlas did. Effortlessly. Almost. Intentionally. The more we observed it, the stranger it became. Its coma, that brilliant cloud of dust and gas, expanded faster than physics could explain. Within days, it ballooned to a size larger than Jupiter. That's not poetic exaggeration, that's measurable fact. We had never seen an outgassing rate that high, and yet the object itself remained intact. No fragmentation, no rotational instability. It was as if something was actively maintaining its structure under impossible conditions. Then came the silence. Every major observatory tracking 3I Atlas, from Mauna Kea to the European Southern Observatory, went offline within hours of one another. Maintenance updates, power faults, calibration delays. That's what the official report said. I've worked with these systems my entire life. Someone didn't want us watching. For a brief moment, I had access to one final transmission, raw photometric data captured by an independent facility before the blackout. It showed a concentrated burst of light emanating from the object's forward edge, followed by an abrupt shift in velocity. A course correction. No natural body can do that. That was the moment I realized something. We might not be looking at a comet at all. We might be witnessing technology, ancient or advanced, but technology nonetheless. A probe, a scout, a machine built for endurance and intelligence beyond anything humanity has ever conceived. NASA went quiet. No press releases, no follow-ups. The official data log stopped updating. Even internal researchers were locked out of archived data sets. This level of secrecy doesn't come from confusion. It comes from fear. And the most terrifying part? 3I Atlas is now entering what astronomers call superior conjunction, the period when it passes directly behind the sun. That means for several weeks, we won't be able to see it at all. Radio silence, optical blackout. During that time, it could perform maneuvers, changes in velocity, direction, even structural reconfiguration, completely undetected. It's as if the universe itself is giving it cover. Imagine the implications. A foreign object, possibly intelligent, using our own star as a shield to hide its next move. If that doesn't send a chill down your spine, it should. Because when it emerges from the other side of the sun, it might not be the same object we last recorded. It could reappear faster, closer, or transmitting. I don't deal in conspiracy, I deal in physics. But physics cannot explain what 3I Atlas has already done. We are observing something that shouldn't exist, and yet it's out there, moving with purpose through the most hostile environment imaginable. If this object truly is under intelligent control, then right now, as you watch this, something from another star system is flying through ours, studying us in silence, and we can't even see it. When the data feeds first went dark, I assumed it was coincidence. Systems fail all the time. Solar interference, software misfires, synchronization glitches. But then it kept happening. One observatory, then two, then seven. Within 48 hours, every instrument monitoring 3i Atlas had either gone offline or shifted to maintenance mode. To most people, that sounds like a technical hiccup. To me, it was a pattern. NASA issued a short statement, one paragraph long, claiming temporary signal interference due to solar radiation noise. That explanation didn't just stretch credibility, it shattered it. Solar radiation doesn't selectively blind every observatory at once across different continents using different wavelengths and different technologies. It was as if a curtain had been drawn across the sky, not by nature, but by intention. I started calling colleagues quietly, astrophysicists, mission controllers, analysts. Every one of them sounded nervous. One researcher from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory whispered something I'll never forget. "Michio, the object is moving differently than we expected. They don't want that out yet." Then the line went dead. I never heard from him again. His email account was deleted within the hour. The data that did leak out, small fragments uploaded by independent observatories before the blackout, showed something extraordinary. 3i Atlas had begun to emit not just light, but radio frequencies. Weak, narrowband transmissions centered around 1420 megahertz. The hydrogen line. For decades, SETI scientists have considered that frequency the most likely channel for intelligent communication because it's the natural resonance of hydrogen, the most abundant element in the universe. No known comet or asteroid produces radio emissions at that frequency. None. When I saw that signal, my hands actually trembled. Either we were witnessing a natural phenomenon that defied every physical model ever proposed, or something was trying to speak. But then the data vanished. Every independent upload removed. Every trace of the signal archived, encrypted, or wiped. NASA replaced the public record with a corrected dataset that showed nothing unusual. And suddenly, the official narrative shifted again. They began calling 3i Atlas a fragmented comet, claiming it was disintegrating. But there were no images to prove it, no confirmation, just words. As scientists, we rely on transparency, peer review, verification. When data disappears, the scientific method collapses, and yet this time it felt deliberate. Even the European Space Agency halted updates from the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, the very satellite that could have provided visual confirmation. For the first time in modern astronomy, we were flying blind by choice. I've seen this before, not in astronomy, but in geopolitics. When governments encounter something they can't explain, they classify it. They compartmentalize the data, restrict access, and rewrite the language around it. The word unknown becomes artifact. Anomaly becomes error. The truth dissolves under layers of plausible deniability. But this time, the stakes are cosmic. 3i Atlas isn't just another object passing through our system. It's a messenger from a realm we barely comprehend, a piece of the interstellar medium that has traveled millions of years across the void. And yet, instead of celebrating its mystery, we've buried it. Some colleagues speculate NASA is protecting the public from panic. Others whisper about defense protocols, that certain signals or trajectories could be interpreted as potential threats. I don't engage in speculation lightly, but one fact remains undeniable. We are missing data, and the missing data concerns an object doing things no natural body should be capable of doing. There's something profoundly unsettling about that silence. Because in science, silence is rarely random. It's engineered. And while the official story fades from the headlines, the object itself continues its silent journey behind the sun, completely unobserved. For all we know, it's accelerating, changing structure, maybe even deploying something we can't yet imagine. Every day that passes without data increases the uncertainty exponentially. We're not just losing information, we're losing control of the narrative. And if 3i Atlas is truly under intelligent control, then it's watching us while we remain blind. When it finally emerges from the other side of the sun, we may not be ready for what we see. And that thought, even for a physicist like me, is terrifying. The moment 3i Atlas reappeared from behind the sun, the entire astronomical community held its breath. For weeks, it had been invisible, hidden by solar glare, untraceable by any telescope. But when the first images came in, the shock was instantaneous. It wasn't where it was supposed to be. Every prediction, every orbital model, every trajectory calculation, all wrong. The object had shifted course by several million kilometers, and not gradually, but abruptly, as if it had executed a deliberate maneuver. No natural force could account for that. Not gravity, not solar radiation pressure, not outgassing jets. The movement was controlled, purposeful, intelligent. For a physicist, that realization is like hearing a whisper from the universe itself. Something out there is not following Newton's laws as we understand them. Let me explain what we saw. Normally, a comet under intense solar radiation would release gas and dust asymmetrically, producing a gentle push, a kind of natural thruster. But this push is weak, chaotic, unpredictable. Yet 3i Atlas displayed a consistent vector-aligned acceleration that matched no known model. It wasn't drifting, it was steering. It was steering. At that point, I began to wonder if we were looking at the wrong phenomenon entirely. What if the coma, the huge glowing cloud surrounding the nucleus, wasn't gas at all, but energy? A plasma field generated by controlled ionization. We know plasma propulsion exists. Humanity already uses it in experimental spacecraft. Could this be a much more advanced version? Our spectroscopic data offered another clue. The emissions contained trace elements of titanium, nickel, and something even stranger, isotopic ratios that don't exist naturally on Earth. That's not random space dust, that's engineered material. Then came the strangest part. The forward-directed beam, that same coherent light that first drew our attention, was now pulsing, rhythmic, repeating, almost like code. The intervals matched prime number sequences, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11. I've seen mathematical patterns in nature, but never like this. It was as if the object was broadcasting information, or perhaps responding to something. NASA remained silent. No new statements, no updates. Only leaks from independent astronomers who risked their careers to share fragments of data. One of them sent me an encrypted message. It's bending light, Michio. We don't know how. That's when I saw the unthinkable. In infrared data captured by the James Webb Space Telescope, the area behind the object appeared slightly distorted, like a ripple in space itself. Not an artifact, not noise, a measurable lensing effect that should only happen around black holes, neutron stars, or incredibly massive bodies. Yet this object was barely the size of a mountain. So how does something that small bend light? The only possible explanation is that it's generating a gravitational field, artificially. That idea alone, if true, would rewrite physics as we know it. I tried to remain calm, analytical, objective, but every new frame of data made my rational mind crumble a little more. We were seeing controlled movement, structured light emission, energy coherence, gravitational anomalies, and isotopic compositions inconsistent with any natural process. This wasn't a comet anymore. This was something else. And that's when the question became unavoidable. If this is a probe, who sent it? The universe is vast, beyond comprehension, yet governed by consistent laws. For billions of years, comets, asteroids, and interstellar debris have followed those laws perfectly. Then suddenly, one object violates them all. Either we've discovered a new category of physics, or we're being observed by something capable of manipulating reality at a fundamental level. If that sounds dramatic, consider this. 3I Atlas entered our system at nearly 110,000 miles per hour. To decelerate, pivot, and reorient its beam requires an energy output greater than most nuclear power plants combined. Yet it does so silently, elegantly, without debris or visible thrust. Every time I review the data, I feel that same chill, the sense that we're no longer alone in the laboratory of nature. We're in the presence of technology so advanced, it appears as physics magic. And here's the part that keeps me awake at night. After the course change, the new trajectory points closer to Earth, not a direct impact path, but closer, close enough to observe us. The deeper we look, the more impossible it becomes, and yet it's happening right now, above our skies. When the data first came in, I thought there was a malfunction. Telescopes don't usually pick up structured pulses from comets, but 3I Atlas wasn't obeying any natural template. It was emitting signals, repetitive, geometric, deliberate. Every interval followed a precise mathematical ratio, not random, not noise, information. At first, the signal was faint, buried deep beneath the static of solar interference. Then it grew stronger, like something responding, a soft but unmistakable rhythm embedded within the electromagnetic spectrum itself. When we translated the intervals into frequencies, what emerged was chilling, a pattern identical to hydrogen's spectral emission lines. The most fundamental building block of matter. Whoever or whatever sent this message, they were speaking the universal language of physics. That realization hit me like an electric shock. For decades, I've said that if an intelligent civilization wanted to announce itself, it wouldn't use words. It would use numbers, elements, constants, the very DNA of the cosmos. And that's exactly what 3I Atlas appeared to be doing. I gathered with a small team of radio astronomers to cross-verify the data. No one wanted to go public yet, not until we were sure. We used instruments in Hawaii, Chile, and Australia to triangulate the source. The results were identical. The pulse originated not from deep space, not from solar interference, but directly from the object itself. NASA issued no statement. The European Space Agency refused comment. But inside closed scientific forums, the chatter was erupting. Was this a signal, a data stream, or something beyond our current ability to decode? Then, something even stranger occurred. The pulses began modulating, stretching, accelerating, as if reacting to our observation. Every time our telescopes locked in, the signal shifted slightly in frequency, almost as though it was aware it was being watched. That's not how natural phenomena behave. That's interaction. I remember one night vividly, around 2 o'clock a.m. at the observatory, when we plotted the intervals on a frequency chart. What appeared was a random scatter. It was structure, a recursive pattern resembling a waveform, one that mirrored the Fibonacci sequence, the mathematical spiral found in galaxies, hurricanes, and seashells alike. Nature's signature. But here, it was encoded in light. I said to the team, if this is coincidence, it's the most poetic coincidence in the history of physics. We transmitted nothing back, of course. International treaties forbid it. The scientific community is terrified of active messaging, the idea that announcing ourselves might invite consequences we can't control. But the truth is, the data already speaks for us. Our radar signals, our radio waves, our digital footprints, they've been leaking into the cosmos for nearly a century. If something intelligent is out there, it already knows we exist. And maybe, just maybe, 3I Atlas is proof of that awareness. A messenger, a probe, or a remnant of a civilization that learned to encode consciousness itself into electromagnetic form. I know that sounds like science fiction, but the data doesn't lie. When we isolated the narrowband frequencies, we noticed something else. a repeating harmonic at exactly 1420 megahertz, the hydrogen line. That's the frequency SETI researchers have monitored for decades, believing it to be the cosmic common channel for intelligent communication. Yet no natural comet should produce it. None. I remember sitting there, staring at the spectrogram, whispering to myself, it's talking in hydrogen. But to whom? There's another layer to this mystery. As the object moved closer to Mars's orbit, multiple radio telescopes detected a secondary emission coming not from 3I Atlas itself, but from Earth's upper ionosphere, as if our own planet were echoing the signal back. The same frequency, the same timing. The scientists called it coincidence. I called it conversation. If this is truly an interstellar probe, it might not be sending a message to us, but through us, using our planet's magnetic field, our ionosphere, even our power grid as a relay node. Think about that. Earth itself could be acting as a mirror for an ancient cosmic signal, one we only recently became advanced enough to notice. For decades, I've taught that the laws of physics are the same everywhere, that nature speaks a universal language. But this feels like the universe is finally speaking back. I once told my students that if we ever encountered something truly alien, it would not come in the form of flying saucers or humanoid visitors. It would come as data, encoded in the fabric of reality itself. That moment might already be here. Because whatever 3I Atlas is, it's not silent. It's sending out patterns across frequencies, bending light, and perhaps whispering to the cosmos in a language older than humanity itself. And if that's true, then we are no longer the observers, we are the observed. The morning after we verified the signal, everything changed. My phone lit up before sunrise. Encrypted calls, coded messages, urgent requests for silence. NASA's Deep Space Network had issued a full blackout order on all telemetry associated with 3I Atlas. The raw data vanished overnight from public servers. Observatory access credentials were revoked. It was as if someone had reached into the digital bloodstream of the global science network and cut off the circulation. That's when I knew this wasn't just another anomaly. This was something that scared people in power. When you've worked in astrophysics long enough, you develop a sense for when data feels alive. This one did. But instead of open investigation, we got silence. Official statements describing instrument calibration issues, temporary data corruption, solar interference, the usual bureaucratic cover. But behind closed doors, I was getting whispers from colleagues at JPL and ESA, fragments of truth that didn't match the public line. MICHIO, one message read. They're seeing geometric harmonics. The signal is self-modulating. Another, spectral lock on 1420 megahertz confirmed, but we're told to classify it as background noise. Background noise. That's what they call hydrogen's universal frequency, the most fundamental line in the universe. The same one 3I Atlas has been singing for weeks. It didn't make sense, unless the goal wasn't to explain, but to contain. You see, NASA, for all its brilliance, is not just a scientific institution. It's an agency tied to national security. Its deep space communications infrastructure overlaps with defense networks. When something unknown, something potentially technological, enters our solar system, it doesn't just belong to astronomers anymore. It becomes a matter of global policy. I was invited to a closed briefing in Washington. Small group, all vetted researchers, phones locked, recordings prohibited. The discussion was clinical, sterile, but I could feel the tension humming beneath every word. A NASA representative displayed an image, high resolution, taken by the James Webb Telescope, of 3I Atlas's nucleus. I'll never forget it. The object wasn't spherical like a comet. It was polygonal, faceted, smooth in some areas, geometrically aligned in others, almost as if constructed. They called it a reflectivity anomaly. I called it architecture. Someone across the table whispered, "If this thing isn't natural, what do we do?" That's when the briefing ended, abruptly. 2 hours later, the image disappeared from NASA's public archive, replaced by a lower resolution version with the metadata scrubbed. Now, officially, this never happened, but unofficially, I've seen the pattern before. In the 1980S, when we detected unexplained gamma ray bursts that didn't match stellar signatures, they classified them for years before quietly admitting their astrophysical origins. The same with early exoplanet detections, hidden behind noise until confirmation was politically safe. But this feels different, because if 3i Atlas is what some of us believe it is, a technological artifact, perhaps autonomous, perhaps still transmitting, then acknowledging it would rewrite not just our understanding of physics, but our place in the universe. It would raise questions governments aren't prepared to answer. Who built it? Why now? And what if it's not the first one? Inside the scientific community, there's a silent rebellion brewing. Observatories in Chile, Japan, and South Africa have started leaking unclassified spectrographic data through anonymous channels. The evidence keeps pointing to one conclusion. The object's electromagnetic emissions are organized, not random, not chaotic. And the modulation patterns show feedback, meaning it might be responding to what? To us. Each time a major observatory locks its signal onto 3i Atlas, the emissions shift slightly, almost imperceptibly, as though acknowledging the observation. You can call it coincidence, but a coincidence that repeats systematically ceases to be random. It becomes communication. And that's what frightens the agencies most, because if this is communication, we're not just listening to the universe anymore, we're in a dialogue. And the other side, whoever they are, initiated it. I once told my students that the most dangerous discovery in science wouldn't be proof of alien life. It would be proof that alien intelligence is watching us back. Because the moment you confirm that, every system on Earth, political, religious, technological, begins to destabilize. So NASA chooses silence, because silence, at least, is stable. But truth has a way of escaping the walls built to contain it. And right now, all across the world, amateur astronomers are capturing data NASA can no longer suppress. The frequency bands, the light curves, the plasma distortions around the comet's core. It's all there, just waiting for someone bold enough to piece it together. Maybe that's why I'm speaking now, because I've spent my entire life studying the cosmos, and I've never seen anything like this. Something out there is sending a signal through 3i Atlas, something that understands physics the way a poet understands language, not as rigid law, but as art. And the longer we pretend not to hear it, the louder it becomes. When the first set of data came in, I thought it had to be an error, a calibration issue, maybe interference from solar flares. But as more observatories confirmed the same result, the realization hit me. 3i Atlas wasn't just emitting random bursts. It was repeating a structured, mathematical rhythm buried deep in radio frequencies, so faint they almost escaped detection. The intervals weren't arbitrary. They matched the hydrogen hyperfine transition frequency, the universal constant humanity itself chose when sending the Voyager messages into interstellar space. This was deliberate. Someone or something was speaking in the language of the cosmos. NASA immediately locked down the data, encrypting everything within hours. But information moves faster than secrets. Across the world, observatories were catching fragments of the same signal. My colleagues in Japan and Chile sent me spectrographs that mirrored ours exactly. That's when the question none of us wanted to ask finally surfaced. Michio, are we being answered? My instinct told me no. It couldn't be. A comet shouldn't do this. But the timing, the precision, the coherence, it all screamed intelligence. When we translated the pulses into numerical ratios, the shock deepened. The numbers matched orbital alignments, not of Earth, but of Mars and Jupiter, set to occur precisely 27 days from now. It was like Three Eye Atlas was pointing to an event yet to happen. Each burst carried harmonics, tiny nested frequencies that, when plotted visually, predicted a toroidal field pattern, the same geometry predicted by theoretical warp drive physics. I spent my career dreaming of proof like this, but the implications were staggering. Were we looking at a mathematical signature of faster than light propulsion, or a demonstration of it, encoded in light and plasma? Inside JPL, the atmosphere became almost surreal. Scientists were scribbling equations faster than they could think, monitors flickered with live spectral readings, and yet, beneath the excitement, there was a silence, a shared awareness that we were standing on the edge of something that might rewrite everything we thought we knew about the universe. Because the data showed something else. The bursts were reacting to us. Every time we adjusted our telescope arrays, the signal altered its timing within minutes, as if it knew we were watching. That was no coincidence. Three Eye Atlas was adapting, learning, and then came the impossible. The final signal burst before it went dark carried a modulation sequence unlike anything we had seen before, an encoded waveform with a recursive prime pattern that spelled out, when translated using the mathematical constants it had already used, await alignment. Those two words sent shockwaves through the entire research team. What alignment? Of what? And for whom? We don't know yet. But if the trajectory data holds, Three Eye Atlas will reach its perihelion, its closest point to the sun, in exactly 27 days, right on the same date its message predicted. I don't think this is coincidence. I don't think this is random plasma or cosmic radiation. I think we are being invited to witness something. Maybe even to understand something that was never meant for us, not yet. So as we continue tracking Three Eye Atlas, ask yourself, what if this isn't a visitor at all? What if it's a messenger? Or worse, a warning? What if it's the universe testing whether we're ready to listen? Because if the signals return when the alignment happens, the truth may not just challenge what we know, it might change who we are. Let me know what you think. Could this really be first contact or something far more complex? Leave your theories below, and if you want to see what happens when Three Eye Atlas reaches the sun, make sure you subscribe, because what comes next could redefine humanity's place in the cosmos.